Hello, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to Reach Live. It's a pleasure to have you joining us today, whether you're on demand or here live with us today. We have a fantastic talk ahead on this wonderful Friday, on this big week where we had Facebook change their name and the world of immersive reality is such a hot topic. So I think we've got a really great talk here today about virtual reality and its role in the future of health. So my name's Reena Sangar. I'm the head of digital and connected health at Ipsos. Ipsos are a global market research and insight agency and a partner of Reach Thought Leadership. We're here every last Friday of the month, talking to digital health leaders and pioneers. And I will first welcome my two guests today, Chris and Rory, who are going to be sharing their experiences and talking today about virtual reality. So to kick off intros, Chris, I welcome you first to come in and give an introduction to yourself, and then Rory.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Reena. I'm Chris Zaluski. I am Director of Business Development and Alliance Management within the Frontier Business Office for Dainippon Sumitomo Pharma America. And I started a little over a year ago. My professional background started in med devices, and I've enjoyed a lengthy career, I won't tell you how many years, of sales, marketing, and BD activities in med devices, but then also software solutions, and then finally digital health solutions for clinical trials. So I'm excited to be part of the Frontier business, but also this partnership.
Good morning, good afternoon, folks. Rory Channer, Chief Commercial Officer of BehaVR. I'm clearly not Aaron Gani, so if you were expecting him today, apologies, he's actually out sick today. And so I am the understudy. I could fake an American accent. I won't do that because that will lower the attendees rapidly for you, Reena. So I will keep with my British accent as Aaron is all American. But I've been with BehaVR since January. As an early investor in BehaVR, I've been following closely what the company had been doing for about 3 or 4 years, and then joined at the beginning of the year to be lead on business development and marketing and sales. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here. I'm very excited to be with you guys, and of course with our great partner Chris and DSP.
Thank you both. Well, yeah, you've had a press release this week, which we're going to talk about, and a partnership that you've announced formally, and there's going to be a lot more conversation around what that means and you know what people can kind of look forward to in the future. But I want to start on the tech, and I want to start on virtual reality. So Rory, it's over to you, really. I say first, why virtual reality? What is it about it that's pushed BehaVR to be all in this space?
Yeah, thank you, Reena. You know, you mentioned Meta up front. I mean, it is an interesting moment from yesterday's announcement from previously known as Facebook to be changing into the focus of the metaverse and figuring out how this medium is going to be a game changer globally on a lot of different fronts. So I mean, they talk a lot about clearly fitness, and they talk about collaboration, but there are several hundred research studies that have been done over the last 20, 25 years on the power of VR on a range of therapies, from the things that we're focusing on around anxiety to depression, but also schizophrenia, phobias. There's a whole variety of things that have shown in clinical settings, clinical research settings, how impactful this medium can be for bringing world-class therapeutic capabilities to humans across the world. I think what we're very focused on is taking that clinical research, that well-known set of findings, and bringing them into a consumable form in the development of these products that we're bringing to the table. So, you know, it's an interesting area as a technology. It's hard to find technologies that exist in healthcare that have so much research around them and haven't got an application, you know, or worldwide applications to them. So very exciting time. Yesterday, I think, is a bit seminal, certainly for us in this space. And, you know, won't talk too much about Facebook and their current situations, you know, in the media or in the world psyche today. But this type of capability for them is I think very important. As a game changer for bringing behavioral health to their users and customers.
No, absolutely. When I saw the announcement, I certainly thought of your company, and we're Ipsos are going to be in Dublin in a few weeks at the Virtual Reality for Healthcare conference that's taking place there. And for us as well, we've seen so many therapeutic areas where the benefit is really rich, whether it's in training and kind of administering knowledge and sharing knowledge, or all the way through to actual outcomes and therapeutic benefit. So I'm excited to share that at that conference when we get there. But Chris from Pharma, pretty brave. To be investing in VR. I think, pharma, I work extensively with pharmaceutical companies. We know that it can be quite risk averse. Evidence is the key driver. So what was it for you as you were starting to look for technology for health? Firstly, why was you looking for tech in health? And then why VR?
Sure, great question, Reena. So I think at the Frontier Business Office, I can say that we are committed to seeking out health tech solutions that could be considered standalone solutions that improve the patient journey and health comes overall, or complement existing pharmacological therapeutic solutions or available therapies. So we're certainly looking for the right technology for the right purpose, rather than just, cool tech that we can maybe do something with. So I think starting off there is very important, because to your second point, we are very results driven, and therefore, no matter what solution we align with, it does need to work, full stop. So that is certainly a challenge that we will be addressing, of course, with anything that we adopt. But at the pharma level, DSP is committed to being a globalized, specialized player in this health tech sector. So we are really happy to be expanding our relationship with BehaVR. And, I came into the Frontier Business Office with an existing relationship, which kind of made it easier for me, since we were already engaged in working together to develop a wellness product using and leveraging the VR technology. So it was just a natural evolution of just a great working relationship with the promise of a technology that could do a lot for a much needed population suffering from mental health issues.
A number of tech companies that have registered and dialed in and things. And one of obviously what they all look for is that partnership with pharma, because you guys understand the regulatory framework and how to kind of bring that reputation and bring something to market. How have you felt with your kind of career from medtech all the way through? How do you feel about the environment today, about how open pharma are to technology? So give me some of the kind of things that are really driving the conversations internally.
Sure. I can't speak for everyone. I can certainly speak to certain headlines that we have seen. We've seen a lot of partnerships evolving and emerging from the health tech startup phase, getting involved with pharma companies to design digital therapeutics. None of that is necessarily new. I think there's a lot of models that everyone is still trying to design and develop and put into practice. So it's still an emerging field. What I also think is interesting is the partnerships between tech companies. So I think that's also very interesting. We're seeing a lot of coupling of synergistic capabilities. And I think that's where a lot of the conversation is going. So whether it's between pharma and startup companies, the synergistic capabilities and the complementary nature of the relationship and how it actually operationalizes is really the crux of the conversation I think most companies are having.
Interesting stuff. In terms of the role of VR as a differentiator, where do you both feel that is today? Maybe Rory, I'll come to you first. Like, kind of, where are we with VR?
Generally, I think we're in early innings as understanding the medium per se. But I think to Chris's point a little bit there, this coupling up, I think, is key. Not just between technology companies, but also between big pharma and technology companies. And I think in this instance, it's a huge differentiator. We're already seeing very early positive signs of how sticky the medium is, how engaging the medium is, its ability to deliver real therapy to people at scale is huge. And I think we'll find some incredible learnings over the next 3 to 5 years that show how, when coupled with pharmacological interventions or major therapeutic interventions from therapists, it can be incredibly powerful. And I think we as a group are very committed to thinking about these types of solutions as an and versus an or. And I think that's critical. I think as we explore its impact and capability, and as we're working so heavily on this right now, and through the studies that we'll do, I think we're going to see a whole new world open up in this medium that not only becomes differentiating, it also becomes high impact delivery system in and of itself. So I think there's a lot to learn here. We're early, but it's so far, early signs, very, very impactful, very, very hopeful.
Chris, you agree? Anything you'd add in terms of how you feel the kind of state is right now of virtual reality?
Yeah, I think we see it with technology in general, right? I think what we have today in terms of virtual reality is a starting point. Where it will be in 2 or 3 years from now may not look the same at all, right? And we've seen examples of products that came and went and have stayed. There's several varieties of virtual reality technologies out there. So I'm so excited about where it could go. Will it get smaller? Will it become more augmented? The idea of a mixed reality is certainly something we can discuss. And I just think there's a lot of potential, and it would be remiss of me to try to predict that future. I've never been really good at that. Otherwise, I might be on the island that Rory's projecting over there. But having said that, I think there's a lot of learnings we can engage in, to Rory's point, in the next 3 to 5 years. And then what it actually looks like will be a totally different story.
No, it's exciting. It's exciting that you're putting your foot into it, right? To kind of discover that and drive that. So digital therapeutics, you've been clear, and the press release kind of speaks to it, that you're pursuing digital therapeutics as the indication that you're going to go after. It's DTX, I think, is a term that's broadly understood by those that work in the industry. We've all heard it. But when I speak to the average clinician, and certainly when I speak to the average patient, they've never heard the term, or very rarely have heard the term. Do you think that's fair for me to say?
I think there's confusion around the terms that are used and definitions that I think most organizations are trying to gain alignment on. So it's an important conversation. It's not surprising if people haven't heard it. I'm hoping that will also change, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I actually think VR has the opportunity to kind of change the conversation completely around digital therapeutics. I think when people experience certainly what we're building, what others are building inside of VR, it will feel very different than a cell phone delivery system. And I think it actually might bring alive the concept that, wait a second, I could see how this device could deliver real therapy, in real behavioral change opportunity to folks struggling. I think it might actually bring us to a new place and a broader understanding of digital therapeutics, actually. Cell phones, we've all got one. They don't necessarily lend themselves to believing out the box that this is a medical device. It seems like a harder stretch, but I think VR has a huge opportunity to make a bridge there and do something uniquely, very positive to the digital therapeutic space. So I think you're right, Reena, that there's a lot to learn from many on this front, but more companies jumping in like we are jumping together in here start to really change the conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think some of the fascinating uses of VR in healthcare are like the training experiences. So digital therapeutics may not be on the forefront of their mind, but I do believe there are certain healthcare disciplines that are familiar with the interactivity of the medium and how useful it is for skills building in general. So there's certainly applications to explore. And my sense is that perhaps the community would be a little more readily accepting of a medium that they may already have some familiarity with from a healthcare perspective.
Yeah, I think that's, sorry, Reena. I'm just going to comment on that. I think the learning capability of VR is second to none. We're seeing that on lots of dimensions now, where folks learn faster, better, retain more information when engaging within VR. So I think Chris is right on there. But we've seen some of our early wellness programs that we've developed, we've seen incredible change statements come out of people coming out of a VR session. Things like, I'm going to change the way I eat. I'm going to change my relationship to my baby. I'm going to change. And I think this ability to kind of use the medium to make people see things in a different way and attach motivationally to behavioral change, that's not what you see on a cell phone, right? You don't hear that when people get off a cell phone and say, wait a second, I'm totally changing my stance on something. And I think that's the unlock here, that it uses learning and educational systems in a different and more powerful way, and at the same time puts the brain in this state that it's more flexible, more neuroplastic to a better approach or a better way. And I think those two things together are extremely powerful, and we're already seeing the brain shift in its ability to stay focused inside of VR. So there's more attention going on inside VR. So you're getting better learning, spending more focused attention, and you're having this kind of empathetic shift when you come out to say, yeah, this is impactful to me. I'm going to do something different. That's a really cool starting point for helping people get to a better place.
For me, it feels more of an intervention, which is where my hope sits with it, right? So, and many of them are my friends, and I've spoken to them in the past. And of course, apps can still have our digital therapeutics. They have real outcomes attached to them. But I can understand from a patient perspective why they struggle to connect the dot of not saying this is a health tech towards saying it's a digital therapy, and understanding that jump that we want them to make, because the industry wants them to make that, and we're kind of pushing that. So, and I have no buy-in here. I'm just my own voice and Reena's opinion. I genuinely feel there is something there about the intervention of putting something on and feeling like you've had a treatment, which I do feel could help the dialogue. So I'm genuinely excited about it. So we have an awareness and definition issue, which we have data to support that. So I think that's definitely a case. And from the industry, we have an access issue. So unless these things are accessible to individuals, and this is a challenge, whether it's a single payer market like the UK or it's one of the other global private markets, what's your views? Either of you jump in. What's your views around how we can really work on the access issue? Because that's an industry-wide thing, and we all need to work together on that. So do you have any kind of comments on the access piece?
Chris, you want to go ahead? I can jump in.
Don't both jump.
Go for it.
Yes, a headset costs $299 today if it's an Oculus Quest or a Pico, right? So these things are not cheap necessarily, but I'd argue a Fitbit costs roughly the same, and so it depends a little bit on perspective. For me, the kind of broader question to access, Reena, which is a really good one, is that if you have a behavioral mental health condition and you've got to the point where you're looking for help, you today either have to call someone or go somewhere, and that's a step. That's a big step. It's a big step over a threshold into whether it be a drafty church hall for a group session or into a therapy office somewhere, and I'm now seeing somebody. I mean, these are big kind of change steps that people have to come to terms with. I think one of the big hopes of VR is that you can do these things anonymously or with lower barriers to access. So the kind of the physicalness of it, the emotionalness of going to see somebody, So I think the great unlock here comes with the medium itself offering more ease and access in the sense that you can get to the help that you need faster and speedier. And so I think where you're referencing, there is not enough behavioral health therapists. There's not enough good ones. There's not enough any of them out there, right? So, with 25% of the US population, for example, struggling with mental health issues, and almost 20% struggling with anxiety issues, this is a huge number of people that need support. And we're also seeing giant boosts in problems in caregivers themselves, right? They themselves are not insulated from all that's been happening, not least across the last 2 years. So I think the access issue is a big issue. I think, again, the unlock here is that maybe we can get people into support systems earlier, take people off waiting lists sooner, provide an outlet to folks that traditionally may not look for help, and help identify them earlier. So I think those are the things that we believe can be behind this. But to your point, yes, it's a cost. It's an extra cost. It's the headset itself, and that's an issue, sure. Chris, what do you have this?
No, definitely. Certainly a consideration worth discussing. I'm not saying that we have the answers today. I'd like to think what also would help with the market access is, the utility of the therapeutics. So this is where clinical evidence, I think, plays a major role, and certainly demonstrating effective treatment through this modality. I think we're very familiar with the population suffering from mental health issues. They're not a homogeneous population, so I would hesitate to think that therapists in general wouldn't appreciate one more tool in their armament. So I think there is a lot of variety out there, and people are quite unique in how they experience their symptoms. So it kind of lends itself to offering a new modality or a different modality for those who would benefit the most from it. And that's something that we have to figure out and prove out.
Thank you both. I think you've been quite balanced about it, right? These are real challenges that we're going to have to face, if we're going to see this as a mainstream product. Any other things you can kind of share in terms of the payer landscape? There's some interest in the Q&A as well coming out around this, but not even just to do, obviously you're going on your journey, what we've learned from others, any kind of things that you can share in terms of what payers are going to be looking for here, or what you've seen to be typical kind of models that they're adopting for DTX.
Let me jump in on that one, if I may, Reena. I've been kind of encouraged, actually. It's surprising how many payers are spinning up VR, AR labs inside of their organizations. That is a real thing that's happening, which is encouraging. I've met in the last 6 months a number of payers who have gone from, we were kind of curious about VR, to now we've read a number of these studies, we know how powerful it can be, we're very committed to finding a solution to bring to the market. So it feels like it's moved on actually quite a bit in the last 6 months. And there is genuine interest in the payer landscape to figuring out how do we, again, to Chris's point, evidence-based work into VR, how do we do that? So I think it's encouraging. I think more needs to be done. I think the hope is that the payer organizations move quickly with us and they're staying with what we're doing. Certainly the commitment that DSP has made to this space is a multi-year commitment. It takes a long time to build digital therapeutics, and they're committed to doing that with us, and that's phenomenal. And hopefully the payers track with us on that, and as we get study verification, we show that this medium and the products that we're building are high impact products. The payers are right there with us, and we don't miss time there, because I think one of the things here is the tsunami is upon us, and we got to get solutions out, right? We got to build these solutions and get them into markets quickly. So I'm quite encouraged actually by what they're doing. The early signs are good, but yeah, more on needs to be done.
Yeah, I would agree, Rory. I'm quite encouraged as well. We're seeing other companies who are very well known in the space, very vocal in the space, making headway with specific payer contracts. And we think there will be a shift toward acceptance of the right digital therapeutic that demonstrates best-in-class outcomes. And I think that's what we have to strive and hold our standards toward.
No, I mean, I agree. I think I've seen, if I look at the last 2 years, I think it's been fascinating, the kind of progress that's been made. And I hope to have you both back next year just to kind of hear how the things have progressed as you're kind of going on this journey and building the evidence out. Thank you both so much for giving us your time on this Friday. In the chat, we've just shared the information of the 3rd annual Virtual Reality in Healthcare Europe Symposia that's happening in Dublin. There's a link to the event, so do click in, do attend. It's going to be a great event. People that are really passionate about the world of VR and AR coming together, and it's a REACH event. So REACH are very much a partner of that event and focusing on the agenda. Huge thank you to the International Virtual Reality Health Association and all an inspiring community of XR professionals. Huge thank you to Chris and Rory for taking your time out today to be with us. Please reach out on LinkedIn, connect, and let us know if you have any questions. And with that, we wish you a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Guys, thank you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye now.